I got it to work and then the flame went out, so we're gonna try these. Let's see, but this needs something to light it against. This is not a good kind. Ow, ow, ow.
This time, the only time we're ever in this room at this time. Okay, it's cold. Exactly. So people who are lighting are going to have to come up here because they're going to read in the microphone. Try to avoid that.
You want me to read this part and then call them up by name? Okay, just checking.
Good evening, everyone. I just said to Mindy that the only time we're ever in this room at this phase of the sunset with this kind of light is Kol Nidre. Kol Nidre. It really feels like that. And there's something very special about it because of my association with that light. And I hope it will bring great holiness to this program this evening. Welcome, everyone. Members of First Hebrew, friends of First Hebrew, our neighbors, our colleagues, and the Peekskill Police Department is here, because they're always looking out for us. The service tonight is also being live streamed, so welcome to all those who are here virtually. I hope you picked up your program as you came in. It was in the lobby. Tonight we mark the 77th year since the liberation of Auschwitz. It took several years following the liberation for a ceremony such as ours to come together, including candlelighting and reading names of the victims. And at the center of this now familiar ritual, a survivor would come and tell their story. This morning, we went to the Westchester County Shoah service in White Plains, and the speaker, now nearly 80 years old, told how she was born just months after her father was captured and imprisoned. And she spent the first 2 years of her life hidden in a bunker to keep her and the other children hidden with her from being discovered. She was ultimately reunited with her mother, but she never met her father. Soon, there will be no survivors to tell their stories. In fact, there are none, to my knowledge, here at First Hebrew anymore. But we remember them, and we will read their names, and we will tell their stories. The second and third generation of survivors now hold those stories, both the stories heard from their family members and their own stories of growing up with parents, a parent or two parents, who were Holocaust survivors. There are many people who are participating in our service tonight, making use of this program that, as I mentioned, I hope that you picked up as you came in. When it is your turn to read, your name is underneath each of the items that you are scheduled for. When it's your turn to read, please either come up to the bema over here to my left, your right, or to the podium down here at the bottom of the stairs. We need to use a microphone to be sure that those who are on live stream will be able to hear everything that we say. We begin our program tonight with Shelley Kessler reading Elegy on page 1 in your program. And if you know that your piece that you're reading is coming up soon, come forward.
Elegy. Son of man, keep not silent. Forget not deeds of tyranny. Cry out at the disaster of a people. Recount it unto your children, and they unto theirs from generation unto generation. That horde swept in, ran wild and savage, and there was no deliverance. Valiance and revolt, how the mighty are fallen. The great in spirit and stout of heart, walking to their death with a halo of eternity.
Now, I'm going to ask Mindy to lead us through the candle lighting service that begins on page 2.
Candle lighting, remembering the 6 million. As we light the 6 yard-site memorial candles, each one representing 1 million of our brothers and sisters who were murdered, we remember Eastern European Jewry in its full bloom, and we mourn the tragic loss of this part of our rich heritage. The first candle is being lit by Robert Rubenfeld, president of First Hebrew Congregation. Read or light first, whichever one you want first.
I'll the light first. As we light the first candle, we remember the 6 million Jews whose lives were cruelly taken in the ghettos, in the forests, in cattle trains, in hiding, in the camps, on the death marches, and in unknown places. We pledge to remember them, not just as numbers, but as mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons, sisters and brothers, grandmothers and grandfathers, aunts and uncles and friends whose lives have been enriched the world with their many gifts and talents.
Miriam?
For the second candle, we invite Miriam Mendelowitz.
As we light this candle, we honor the liberators and those righteous among the nations who had the courage to care and act upon their convictions, to reach out to shelter, rescue, and save Jews while so many stood silent.
Thank you, Miriam. Steve?
The third candle will be lit by Stephen Weiner.
As we light this candle, we lovingly remember the 1.5 million innocent children mercilessly killed in the Holocaust. We light this candle to remember their hopes and dreams.
And the fourth candle will be lit by Joshua Dunn.
So I would just like to say first that the rabbi gave me this honor because my son, who's 13, is named after a Holocaust survivor who worked in the French underground, Andre Borin, and my son is Andre Dunn. So thank you, Rabbi. As we read this candle, we also remember the millions of non-Jews murdered during the Second World War. These included righteous Gentiles, clergy, gypsies, homosexuals, and people with physical and mental disabilities. I forgot to add my son is autistic, that's why.
Thanks, Josh.
The fifth candle will be lit by Michelle Mendelowitz.
We light this candle for the survivors of the Holocaust to bear witness that in spite of the greatest evil against our people, we survived and made new lives and families.
Thank you, Michelle.
And the sixth candle will be lit by Daniela Rosen.
We light this candle as second generation, the children of survivors who had the strength and the courage to rebuild their lives and give us life.
Continue now on page 3. We remember the Holocaust. Who's our reader? Barbara, is that you? I lost my page. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
We recall with bitter grief the catastrophe which overwhelmed our people in Europe, adding to the unprecedented chapter to our history of suffering.
We mourn for 6 million of our people brutally destroyed by civilized people behaving like savages.
The cruelties of Pharaoh, Haman, Nebuchadnezzar, and Titus cannot be compared with the diabolical schemes of the modern tyrants who sought to exterminate an entire people.
So to God and humanity.
We will never forget the burning of the synagogues and the houses of study, the destruction of holy books and scrolls of the Torah, and the sadistic torment and murder of scholars, sages, and teachers.
They tortured the flesh of our brothers and sisters, but they could not crush their spirit, their faith, their love.
We recall our brothers and sisters in the Warsaw Ghetto and in other hellish places who valiantly rose up and defied the monstrous adversaries.
We recall the heroism of those who, in the face of unprecedented and overwhelming force, maintained Jewish life and culture and asserted Jewish values in the very midst of enslavement and degradation.
Even as we mourn, we recall those precious few compassionate men and women of other faiths and nationalities who, at the peril of their own lives, saved some of our people.
Of such individuals did our sages teach, the righteous of all nations have a share in the world to come.
O Lord, remember your martyred children. Remember all who have given their lives for the sanctification of your name.
Barbara? Dreams of Children. This poem, or this piece actually, was written by one of my students 20 years ago when she was in religious school.
Dreams of Children. I have dreams that children never play. They are all covered with filth and blood. They live in a world with fear and hate instead of one with joy and love. Then my mother wakes me up and sweetly says, "It's all right. See? It's not real." I have dreamed that children long to know what it's like to laugh and smile, how they would love to let down the walls that they have built inside, just to sit on a lap and weep the tears that they have learned not to let spill. Then my mother wakes me up and sweetly says, "It's all right. See? It's not real." I have dreams that children ache for their childhood. Some never had one, for by the time they were 5, they were already grown up. I dream that good children get bad beatings and see their souls burning in the flames of the dead. Then my mother wakes me up and sweetly says, "It's all right. See? It's not real." I have dreams that children walk alongside the barbed wire and pretend that they are roaming among beautiful trees. They try to believe they are really smelling sweet-scented roses. In reality, the scent which they smell is the ashes of burned beings. Then my mother wakes me up and sweetly says, "It's all right. See? It's not real." I dreamt again last night, only this time I was a child in their tragic world. My aching, dirty body longed to be bathed, and hunger made my head clang like a bell. I stumbled over another lifeless body and bit my lip. My mouth filled with the bitter taste of blood that reminded me of this nightmarish hell that no child should have to live through. I fell through the years and woke up with a start in my bed. My mother came over to me and sweetly said, "It's all right, see? It's not real." I touched my hand to my bloody lip and replied, "But Mother, it was real."
Stay right there, Miriam. Yeah.
From the Diary of Anne Frank. It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions, and yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think it will not come right, that the cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. The Butterfly by Pavel Friedman. April 6, 1942.
Somebody else is going to read that.
What?
Somebody else is going to read the second one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
You take that with you. Thank you, Marion.
The Butterfly, Pavel Friedman, April 6, 1942. The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow. Perhaps it's the sun's tears will sing against a white stone. Such a yellow, it's carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks, I have lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto, but I have found my people here. The dandelions called to me, and the white chestnut candles in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
This time I'm going to invite 4 people to come forward. You can all come at once, Daniela and Steve and Fran and Michelle, to each read a section of the list of names that we have collated over the years, the names of the victims of the Shoah, those who died in the Shoah, and those who survived the Shoah and have died subsequently. And families give us the names of their family members to add to the list as time goes on. We keep adding to this list. Daniela?
Morgenstern family, Biala Podlaska. Leah Levinson and family. Gershon Morgenstern and family. Yosel Morgenstern and family, Levenberg family, Biala Podlaska, Poland, Moshe Chaim Levenberg, Luzar Levenberg, Malka Talba Levenberg, Abraham Levenberg and family, Freiberg family, Grading, Ukraine, Goldie Freiberg, Yankel Freiberg, Ethel Freiberg and family, Shimon Gottfried, Gerda Leah Gottfried, Solomon Alexandrowitz, died Camp Janau. Henrik Alexandrowitz, died Camp Janau. Sila Alexandrowitz, Lvov. Mundek Alexandrowitz, Ukraine. Frida Alexandrowitz, Belzec. Teicher family. Clara Steckler and daughter Rina, Ploskow near Krakow. Anna Mahler, Poland. Isidor Mahler, Belzec, Auschwitz. Horst Blumenthal.
Sarah Newman, Betha Newman, Oscar Newman, Joseph Newman, Samuel Repravnik, his wife, and 4 children. Samuel Repravnik's 9 siblings and their families. I am a Repravnik. That's my ancestors. Willie Newman, Labus Bacher, Moisey Bacher, Morky Bacher, Yitzhak Bacher, Ceciliel Friedman, Bacher Razel, Friedman, Wakeman, Barak Friedman, Helena Wakeman, Morit Wakeman, Chaim Bacher, Smilich Bacher, Esther Bacher, Vega Razel Bacher, Rose Bacher, Kukier, Joel Kukier, Yannick Borganish, Leon Singerman, Max Fishman, Oberlander family.
Thank you, Steve. Fran?
Alfred Hyman, Holland, Laura Hachheimer, parents, brother, Zvi Singer, Sarah Haber Singer, Orsai Singer, Mula Singer, Lipa Singer, Aaron Singer, Solomon Singer, Label Singer, Bertha Singer, Gita Singer, Frieder Singer, Joel Jenis, Galinsky family, Mirman family, Ignaz Buchsbaum, Yitzhak ben Leeb, Brona Buchsbaum, Bracha ben Scheindel, Sarah Lebelsky, Reb Yehuda Lieb, Eric Lebelsky, Igus Przowski, Bila Schwartz.
Joseph Siegler, Elizabeth Siegler, Annie Siegler, Kathy Siegler, Sandor Siegler, Paul Siegler, Esteban Siegler, Alfred Berliner, Frieda Berliner, Lisa Berliner, Joseph Berliner, Julie Berliner, Helene Berliner, Ida Guggenheim, Yehuda Mendelovich, Mordechai Mendelovich, Devorah Mendelovich, Mirela Mendelovich, Itzhak Mendelovich, Chaim Hersh Mendelovich, Menachem Mendelovich, Malka Mendelovich, Yankel Mendelovich, Leib Mendelovich, Jakob Gutenglas, Simone Dunn, Andre Boren, Ben Greenbaum.
Thank you. You can return to your seats. Danielle, you're going to? Sure. Turn now to page 8 to read responsively this prayer. Daniela will lead us.
A prayer. Father Adonai, Creator, who set the round course of the world, birth, death, and disease.
Father, who caused veins, brains, and bones to grow, who fashioned us air that we might breathe and sing.
Remember that we are incomplete and inconsolable, our vision clouded by ashes.
Remember the chimneys, the ingenious habitations of death, where part of Israel's body drifted as smoke through the air.
Remember the mutilated music of their lives.
We lament in fields of loneliness for 6 million of our number torn away.
Remember them.
Forget them not.
Forget them not.
Remember the landscape of screams engraved at entrance gates to death.
Remember the unborn dreams.
Remember the terror of children whose tears were burned. Remember the agony of parents whose blessings were consumed.
Remember the prayers of the dying, the shame and the suffering of the innocent.
Remember, we have not forgotten you though all this has befallen us.
Remember the God-forsaken millions in a silent world. Their loneliness was matched only by yours.
Who is like you, O Lord, among the silent, remaining silent through the suffering of his children?
Are you not God, O Lord, that we may hope in you? Renew the light of your creation, which has been dimmed.
Renew in your creatures your image, which has been desecrated. Restore the covenant which your people have maintained.
Remember the hopes of the slain by sending redemption to your shattered world.
In spite of everything which strangles hope, help us to continue the sustaining song of our lives.
We know that a time will come when there will be no strong and no weak, no hunters and no hunted, no oppressors and no oppressed, no slayers and no slain, no masters and no servants, no rich and no poor.
Are our enemies mightier than we? Torah is stronger than their might, and our dream is greater than their night.
We know that this world will be saved from evil.
Nothing will be worth knowing.
For we know how difficult, how dangerous, how piteous it is to be a human being. And we know how grand, how glorious it is to be a human being.
When we recall the pain of our past, we also must recall its splendor, the foundation with which our lives began, and our debt to all those of blessed memory who have come before.
Their lives and their teachings sustain us as surely as something in all of us has died with them, The merit of their lives stands at our side today.
Because of the strength and the beauty and the piety of their lives, because of our hope for the future which they have planted within us, we say yes to creation, and we say yes to our Creator and to God's eternity and holiness. This time I'll lead El Malei Rachamim, the prayer of commendation, in which we commend the souls of those that we remember tonight further into God's care. Please rise as you are able. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamramim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Toharim, Kezohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmot Kol Achenu B'nei Yisrael, Anashim Nashim V'taf, Shenitbechu, V'shenechneku, V'shenisrefu, V'shenehargu, B'gan Eden Tehei Menuchatam, Ana Balarachamim, Hastirehem B'seter Kanafecha Liolamim, Utzror B'tzror Chaim Et Nishmotehem, Adonai Hu Nachalatam, Vayanuchu B'shalom Amishkevotehem, V'nomar Amen. Join me in reading the paragraph below. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the souls of all of our brethren, men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burned to ashes. May their memory endure, inspiring truth and loyalty in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. You can be seated just for a moment if you prefer to stay standing. Page 10, let us say Kaddish. Mindy?
Let us say Kaddish by Eli Wiesel. Let us say Kaddish not only for the dead, but also for the living who have forgotten the dead. And let the prayer be more than a prayer, more than lament. Let it be outcry, protest, and defiance. And above all, let it be an act of remembrance, for that is what the victims wanted, to be remembered, at least to be remembered. For just as the killer was determined to erase Jewish memory, so were the dying heroes and fighting martyrs bent on maintaining it alive. They are now being defamed or forgotten, which is like killing them a second time. Let us say Kaddish together and not allow others to betray them posthumously.
So this version of Kaddish is recited responsively, of sorts, beginning with part 1 on the right-hand side. I'll chant. If anyone who'd like to join me is welcome to chant in Hebrew or in English as you are so moved, but I would ask that you arise if you are able. So we rise. Yitkadal Auschwitz, V'yitkadash Lodz, Shmei Rabbah Ponar, Be'alma Divrach Hirutei Babiyar, V'yamlich Malchutei Maidanek, B'chayechon V'yomechon Birkenau, Uvchaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Kovno, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv Yanovska, Ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivorach Leolam Elol Me'al Maya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach Theresienstadt, V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam Buchenwald. V'yitnaseh v'yithadar, Treblinka. V'yitale v'yitalal, Vilna. Shemei de Kudisha. Brichu li'ela, Mauthausen. Min kol birchata v'shirata, Dachau. Tishbechata v'nechemata, Da'amiran bi'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the one who makes peace on high make peace for all of us, who remember those who perished in the Holocaust, even if we didn't know them personally because we go through this ceremony every year. We remember them collectively, if not individually.
I believe in the sun even when it is not shining. I believe in love when feeling it not. I believe in God even when he is silent.
I'm not afraid of evil because it can only kill me once. But if I stand against evil, I get to live 100,000 times, O Great Spirit. Help me find the courage to quit being so silent amid evil's scorched earth sermon of unholy despair. Our Creator of countless stars, come to my aid and allow me to find my voice, so I sing a dozen psalms of love in the face of evil, while evil commands his war machine from his throne. I will be planting sunflowers in the war trenches, while evil scratches despair forever on the foreheads of every prisoner he captures. I will be growing a sprawling garden that will carry the fragrance of possibility over every prison wall, and maybe evil will send wolves to come devour me as I patiently wait for my flowers to bloom and tower, but I will not let fear of death keep me from growing my meadow, because the game is rigid every time evil tries to destroy hope with rage and fury. Hope always comes back with her lush rose of inevitable promises. Yes, evil, no matter how many bullets you fire or how many explosions you cause, you will never be able to kill hope, and that must be killing you. John Rodell.
The poet John Rodell aptly describes the human capacity to grasp at hope and the ability to endure the unthinkable and to resist with every fiber of one's being. We have seen this in the Holocaust, and we see it in Russia's attempt to decimate the Ukraine. We've seen the valor, we've seen the endurance and the power of the everyman's resistance in Ukraine. And yet there are too many dead. Human beings, young, old, combatants, civilians, shot, mowed down, bombed. The approximate total effective today is 15,000 people. Conditions make burial nearly impossible at this time. It's not the same as the Holocaust, but it's not so different either. 5.2 million human beings so far have been killed by barbaric means for irrational goals. And people are singing, sorry, that's the wrong number. The 5.2 million is people who are now refugees because of a maniac going after irrational goals. Those 5.2 million people are seeking refuge from a despot. 2/3 of children in Ukraine are no longer living in their homes. Parents are marking their children with family names and cell phone numbers so that they can be reunited if separated. The pain and the despair are palpable. And we know what that feels like. We know that devastation. Even those of us who are not directly affected, we know because of programs just like this, and classes in Hebrew school, and the way Jews talk to one another when something bad happens to a Jew in this world. If there's any lesson to be learned from the Holocaust, it is that we must stand up for those who are oppressed. We must take action. What's happening in Ukraine shares this with the Holocaust. There is inhumane treatment of a nation which did not pose a threat to the attacker. We said, never again. How many times have we said that phrase? But words are not sufficient. Action is required, and in large part for us that comes in the form of financial assistance to get help on the ground in Ukraine, to get people out. Members of First Hebrew have given generously and donated to the cause to various organizations who are doing work in Ukraine. And it has made a difference. Our neighbor, Galina Pismena, a Ukrainian, worried about her mother, Nadia, and her father in Ukraine. With assistance from a Jewish agency, Nadia left Ukraine and is now living with her daughter in Putnam Valley. Nadia, will you wave to us, please? Nadia's here with us tonight with Galina, her daughter Galina. Sad to say, it's very sad to say that one day Ukraine will need a ceremony of their own to mark the events that are befalling them now. For now, I've invited Galina and her family to join us tonight to see what we do and how we are living 77 years later. At this time, I'd like to invite Galina and Nadia and any other members of your family that are here to come forward to light their own candle of remembrance, separate from the ones that we lit, because their experience is their own experience. But we're going to light this candle of remembrance. For all those who have died in Ukraine to date.
My name is Nadia. I'm from Ukraine. I'm from Odessa town, Odessa city. Yes, Odessa is a town where last Sunday killed a small girl. She was 3 months, 3 months. Я 40 лет проработала в школе учителем.
Nadia has been working at school as a teacher for 40 years.
Я работала в младшей школе с маленькими детьми.
I was working as a teacher in elementary school with small children.
И я рассказывала им о Холокосте, о ужасах, о бедах, о погибших детях, стариках, беспомощных людях.
She was teaching the children about the Holocaust and about the survivors and the victims of this horrible tragedy.
Но я никогда не думала, что я сама в 21 веке столкнусь с этими ужасами.
But I never thought that I, myself, in the 21st century, would live through events that have many similarities.
Мой муж остался в Одессе,
My husband stayed in Odessa, Ukraine,
и он рассказывает нам о том, что в Одессе, в местах время от времени происходят взрывы.
and he tells us that when we call him that he hears explosions and they're getting closer and closer to our home.
Одессу обстреливают с кораблей.
Odessa is being attacked from the ships from the sea.
Это очень страшно.
It's very scary.
Большое спасибо всем, кто переживает за нас, молится за нас, помогает. Лично мне спасибо, помогли тоже.
Thank you so much for supporting us, for being there for us, and for understanding our pain and helping us personally to go through this very difficult time.
Сейчас Украина нуждается в вашей помощи, в ваших молитвах, в вашей поддержке.
Now, Ukraine needs your support, your prayer, and your thoughts.
Зло надо остановить, иначе оно расповсюдится по всему миру.
As you know, evil has to be stopped, otherwise it's going to spread further.
Спасибо за сочувствие,
Thank
спасибо
you.
за поддержку, за помощь.
Thank you for everything you do for us. Thank you.
May you be blessed with endurance. May your resistance be successful. May hope light the way, and may you find a path forward. Thank you all for being here, remembering those who perished in the Holocaust. And please, make never again a reality, not just a slogan. Good night.